For the first time ever, a groundbreaking study has directly linked carbon emissions from the world's largest fossil fuel companies to dozens of deadly heat waves. This isn't just about numbers, it's about lives lost, communities shattered, and a planet in peril. But here's where it gets controversial. The research suggests that emissions from just one of these 14 oil giants were enough to trigger over 50 heat waves that would have been virtually impossible without their pollution. Yes, you read that right. Take ExxonMobil and Saudi Aramco, for instance. Their carbon emissions alone made 51 heat waves at least 10,000 times more likely than in a world without their fossil fuels. And this is the part most people miss. These heat waves aren't just uncomfortable, they're deadly. Global heating, driven by such emissions, has made heat waves more frequent and intense, contributing to at least 500,000 heat-related deaths annually. Remember the scorching 2021 heat wave in the Pacific Northwest? It was nearly 3 degrees Celsius hotter than it would have been without climate change. The study, published in Nature, analyzed emissions from 180 major carbon polluters and found they were responsible for about half the increase in heat wave intensity. The rest, largely due to deforestation. Even more startling, the 213 heat waves studied became 200 times more likely between 2010 and 2019 because of the climate crisis. Let that sink in. Professor Sonia Seneviratne of ETH Zurich, a senior author of the report, emphasized the legal implications. This research could be a game-changer for holding these companies accountable. Dr. Davide Ferranda of the French National Center for Scientific Research, CNRS, added, "It's no longer just about abstract data. We can now connect specific disasters to the companies that made them possible." Cassidy Di Paola from the Make Polluters Pay campaign put it bluntly. "We can now point to a heat wave and say ExxonMobil did this, Saudi Aramco did this." These aren't just statistics. They're stories of real people who died, crops that failed, and communities that suffered because of corporate decisions. The legal landscape is shifting too. In July, the International Court of Justice ruled that failing to prevent climate harm could lead to compensation claims. And in May, a German court set a precedent by holding a fossil fuel company liable for climate damages. But here's the question. Will these companies finally be forced to pay for the destruction they've caused? The study used attribution analysis, comparing today's heated world with pre-industrial times to show how emissions have driven temperature increases. Lead author Dr. Jan Quilkale explained, "Climate change has made every single one of these 213 heat waves more likely and more intense. And it's only getting worse. From 2000 to 2023, the average intensity of heat waves rose from 1.4 degrees Celsius to 2.2 degrees Celsius, affecting every continent. Africa and South America were underrepresented due to data gaps. Even smaller carbon polluters had a massive impact. Emissions from the least polluting companies on the list still made 16 heat waves at least 10,000 times more likely." Dr. Karsten Haustein of the University of Leipzig called the study a leap forward for climate lawsuits, adding, "Denial won't make this go away." But here's the controversial part. While individuals contribute to emissions by using oil, gas, and coal, fossil fuel companies bear a unique responsibility. They've knowingly pursued profits through disinformation and lobbying, despite understanding the consequences since the 1980s. Yet, as Professors Michael Gerard and Jessica Wentz of Columbia University point out, no polluter has been held accountable in court. Legal challenges remain, from determining which courts should hear cases to whether companies should be liable for their customers' emissions. So what do you think? Should these companies be held accountable for the heat waves and deaths their emissions have caused? Or is it too complex to pin the blame on a few corporations? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments.